welcome the successful Mumbai-based businessman turned professional English stand-up comedian, the one, the only, Atul Khatri.
Thank you for having me here.
So glad that you could join us. I just want to tell everyone just 2 lines about you, which is that you've studied at the Manchester Business School with the Chevening Scholarship. Atul is also a proud parent of a Zen student, Mishti Khatri, who has also joined us today. Mishti, thank you for being here. Mishti has a master's in sports nutrition and is currently pursuing a doctoral degree in the UK. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you for all the help you guys gave when Mishti had to go last year for her master's program. Being a student studying in UK myself, I know the challenges, I know the difficulties which students face and which also parents face for funding them. Just to give I did my Chevening Scholarship in 2000. For people who don't know, that's a scholarship given by the British government for people. It's very, very specific in different fields. I had gone, they had selected 12 IT professionals that time to go and study at the Manchester Business School. Yes, it was a great experience. I think everybody, once you have the means, I think everybody should definitely study abroad. You get your perspective opens about life. A lot of students in India are very, very protected by their parents. So once they go out and they go through the grind, and I think it's very important. I made a lot of friends over there, a lot of connections over there. And I always say, like when Mishti also went for her master's program there, I said, please make connections, because you have the connections and networks which help you in the future when you expand your work. You're going to meet people from your same field. So these connections are very, very important.
So, Atul, you've had this exciting journey from being a CEO to a successful stand-up comedian who's done over 400 shows worldwide. We would love to get to know you better and your study experiences and your journey. How did the stand-up comedy journey begin for you?
So it was in late 2011, early 2012, where I was a CEO of an IT company. But in an IT work, what happens is that you get burnt out. So we were in charge of maintaining very high-end networks and servers of big corporations, and that's really a 24/7, 24/7 by 365 kind of a job. And I would see, like my wife could see, I was getting burnt out in the job. So she said, you should have some other aspect to your life than just, work. I was a funny guy in my group. I used to love comedy. And I said, let me try my hand. I watched some few stand-up comedy shows that time. They were very new to India in 2011, 2012. I was the studious kind of kid in school who used to probably just introduce the chief guest and run away. So for me, going on stage, in front of 30, 40 strangers and trying to do comedy I remember the first night, my throat became dry, my legs were shivering, I felt there was no flow underneath. But still, I delivered a set. People liked it. That's where the journey started, where I, started hitting more and more open mics. So that's how I transitioned from a CEO to a CEO, from Chief Executive Officer to Chief Entertainment Officer.
I love it. Now, one thing that you have in common with several of our panelists today is that you yourself were a scholarship winner. Tell us about your experience being a scholarship winner in the UK.
So, so just to add on, the Chevening process is fairly, I would say, tough to get into, to become because the British government is paying you a lot of money to do a free scholarship in the UK. So they really, they filter it with a comb. So I remember it was an ad which I saw in Times of India. I applied to it. You had to have a very strong recommendation letter. So I remember that time the CEO, we used to work a lot with Wipro. The CEO of the Wipro was a friend of mine. I spoke to him. He gave me a very strong recommendation letter. And it was like, one of those award shows where you don't know whether you're the winner or no. So they said at 5 o'clock in the evening, the process stopped at 2 o'clock. They said by 5 o'clock, we will give you a phone call and tell you whether you're selected or you're not selected. And I'm telling you, from that 2 to 5, I was just pacing up and down in my room, and at 5 I got this call, and she said, yes, you're selected. I'm telling you, it was amazing. To be very honest with you, I didn't have the means that time to go and study abroad in terms of the financial at that period of time. So getting a scholarship to study abroad was very big for me. I think just interacting with those 12 people, getting back to college, gave me a very different perspective to life. I think everybody should given the means. And nowadays, you guys are giving some amazing scholarships. You get bank loans, so people can go and study. And I think as much as possible, people should try to study abroad. It just opens up. I'm saying in a good university, don't go to some shoddy university just for the sake of it, because you want to improve your dowry, sorry to use the word, but your dowry value, but which a lot of people go for that also, I've heard. But yeah, so I think that's important.
So, you also have an interesting point of view on this, because you have your personal experience and now you're seeing the experience of your daughter who is there. How has the student experience changed from the time that you were studying there to Mishti's experience?
Internet was very different there. I remember it was not as good as it. So also a lot of things have become online now in terms of, the studying techniques and things like, which was not, it was very, very classroom oriented, very textbook oriented. But I think it is similar, because now when last year I went to drop Mishti, we made a holiday out of it. So we went to drop Mishti. I think I was guiding her, and she was finding those, like, opening a bank account, for example, is so important in the UK, just to give you an example. So sometimes people don't take it very seriously, but as soon as you go, they should open a bank account, because everything moves on debit cards there. Like I told her right in the beginning, like a lot of, one thing which didn't change in the UK, that everywhere you get a lot of student discounts. Whether it's a restaurant or it's a store over there, they are very big on student discounts. Even a movie, if you go and watch a movie, so even on a train ticket or a bus ticket, there are student discounts available everywhere. So those experiences, I told Mishti, I'm a Sindhi, so I was, wherever we could save money, I was teaching her all those things. I think it helped her. And like in the UK also, I mean, anywhere you go, you have to be very careful also about your surroundings. Just like how an international student would come to Mumbai and feel a little lost, the same thing happens when we go there also. Please put money in fixed deposits. The British government, when you apply for a visa for your child, they don't look at any mutual funds, they don't look at anything, they look at simple fixed deposit. That day, actually, I was on a clubhouse discussion with some people where we should invest, and there were some parents. I said, are you planning to send your children abroad? They said, yes. I said, please put in fixed deposit. You think, are you crazy? Fixed deposit gives you negative returns. I said, yeah, but the British government requires fixed deposit for more than 28 days. So please, do that. But yeah.
Also super practical advice. And, talking about your experience as a parent, any advice? What was your daughter's experience like when she applied to study abroad? I'm a little biased in asking this question, admittedly, but also any advice for students that are applying?
I would say, first of all, obviously, choose a good counselor. And generally, not because Sham is here on the call, but Sham really helped us a lot. And, we felt very comfortable dealing with Sham, and he was so forthcoming and so practical also. Sham is also very practical, which I like. Number one. Number two is that start the process early. Don't wait for the last time. These consulates sometimes, especially now and after the pandemic, they got more busy. Get all your documents in order. So I think if you follow the right process and be early, I think you're set.
That makes sense. And especially given that things have changed so much, right, with the visa offices over this past year, that guidance and that advanced planning is super important. What would you say is the best thing about studying abroad?
I think is sometimes the way they teach is very, very different. What happens is that the studying technologies are different. They have wide campuses. You get to interact with so many students from across the world. And especially if you're going for an undergrad there, I'm telling you, the undergrad program is such a place where you will make your best friends here. These friends which will help you in your work later on, because you're all studying in the same field. Somebody will go back to Spain, somebody will go back, because people from all over the world come there. Obviously, their teaching technologies, their methodologies are much different. They are much more open compared to what our Indian system, what we studied was so some 600 students in one class. I don't know how many. I'm just joking, but yeah, there were like herd of us in one class. Here is very much different. So you can take appointments from your professors and go and sit with them, and they can teach you. It's good. That's the reason so many students from here go abroad to studies, because just to get a better experience and better teaching style.
So thank you so much for everything that you're doing and for taking the time to talk to all of us today. It was a pleasure to hear your experiences and your insights.
Thank you so much.